Meantime, the jury in former President Trump's fraud trial will begin deliberations today. Join us right now on how the outcome of that trial could impact the November elections and the markets. Tobin Marcus, head of Wolfe Research Policy and Politics. Good morning to you. Let's start with the trial and the case itself, and then let's move on to the implications for the election and the markets, maybe in that order. What are you expecting?
Yeah, so, the first question on the trial, it's timing, of course, how long the jury will deliberate. Having been in a jury at that very courthouse can certainly take a while, but I think we're not far out from a verdict one way or another. I think there's a decent chance of a conviction. I think acquittal is very unlikely, but a hung jury also quite strong possibility. Always very hard to handicap these things. I mean, all the reports from inside the courtroom seem to suggest that the jury was fairly sympathetic to the prosecution's case. But of course, there are quite clear credibility issues with Michael Cohen, the kind of key prosecution witness. So hard to have a confident view at this point, but I do think that the entire range of outcomes is very much on the possibility or on the table.
What's on the table?
The entire range of outcomes. I think
okay, but that's not helpful. That's not helpful at all, Tobin. Handicap the situation for us.
Yeah, I mean, I think a conviction is probably slightly more likely than a hung jury would be my guess, again, without incredibly high confidence. But, I don't think this is something where, there's a really, really strong base case and anything else would be a big surprise. But I do think it seems like we're probably headed for a conviction. Right? I think prosecutors tend to get convictions in most of these cases, the ones that they bring. Okay, this is not the strongest case ever, but
let's play that out. We can also play out the opposite outcome. But for now, let's play out the conviction outcome, if that's what you think the expectation is. What happens then after that?
I mean, if you take the polling at face value, a conviction would be a huge problem for Trump. I mean, there's NBC polling in February that showed a 7-point swing in the horse race if he's convicted. Political polling in March that showed a third of independent voters saying they'd be less likely to vote for him. I think that the magnitude of the effect is likely to be substantially less than that. In either case, voters are not great at telling you how they're going to feel in the event of a thing that happens in the future. This has been a quite steady race. I mean, it's been tightening over the course of the year, but within pretty narrow range. The polling certainly recently has been moving pretty sideways. So, if Trump does get convicted, I think that's a problem at the margin for college-educated moderates in particular. There are going to be a lot of voters who are unfavorable to both candidates, but I think looking at a convicted felon as one of the candidates is sort of plausibly the thing that tips the scales to make the other guy the lesser evil for some of those voters. But I don't think that this is, sort of immediately shifting the race by some massive.
Okay. Let's extrapolate this out, though, from just a moment to the markets, which is to say, if you think that the markets are a forward-looking mechanism, call it 12 or 18 months out. And by the way, the markets have been doing quite well, as you've seen. I mean, we just snapped a winning streak, but all in all, pretty good. Right now, I think the Biden administration is taking some, or would like to take some credit for where the markets sit. Maybe there's an argument to be made if you think that the former president is the president in 12 months, that's the bet that's happened in the markets. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, certainly my experience talking to institutional investors all year is that there's a lot of very active scenario planning going on, but people are not putting on trades in anticipation of the election outcome. And I think that's appropriate because I think that the election looks very close. I don't think the odds are far off of 50-50. I mean, you can sort of argue whether or not we should look at Trump as a clear favorite or, more of a pure coin flip outlook. But even if you think Trump is the favorite, I think only 55, 60%, sort of the highest you go. So people have a lot of ideas about what trades to put on when we do have sort of more conviction about the election outcome. Our view is that financials and traditional energy look like pretty clear kind of day one winners in the event of a Trump victory. But I don't think that, for the most part, people are kind of holding those trades on all year in anticipation of an outcome.
And that's what I was going to say. What's the election trade? So you think, what did you say? You said energy?
I think traditional energy and
would
financials
benefit as a function of a return to President Trump?
Yeah, I think that would both be in keeping with historical trends, sort of which sectors have tended to overperform in election years when Republican presidential candidates have ended up winning. And those are also two of the sectors that have had, I think, some of the highest profile regulatory disputes. I mean, in energy, there's a whole panoply of regulations that the Biden people have put forward: power plant emissions, auto emissions, thing after thing after thing, many of which are going to end up in court. And I think, in many cases be struck down, even if Trump doesn't win. And the rhetorical difference is incredibly stark there. I mean, Trump has been actively courting the energy complex. And similarly, in the financials context, Basel III endgame obviously has been a huge focus all year long. I think that alone is sort of enough
what would be a loser? What would be a loser in a Trump presidency, and what would be a winner or loser in a Biden presidency?
Yeah, I think losers under Trump, renewable energy is sort of the flip side. Certainly, there's been a lot of concern about partial IRA repeal. I think most of that law is probably staying in place, but we do think that the EV-related provisions are at some significant risk. So that's an immediate one that kind of leaves out there. On the Biden side, I mean, it's a very status quo outcome that we'd be looking at. He's probably dealing with a Republican Senate majority instead of a Republican House majority if he wins. But I think a continuation of divided government, regardless. So that's one where you're really not going to get big swings in policy one way or another. The sectors that are exposed to regulatory efforts that are already underway, like those are more likely to get finalized and defended if Biden wins. So again, sort of worse for energy and financials is the flip side of the Trump scenario, but no huge seismic shifts there either way.